Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. This is Ghost Talk with 187 PI. Sit back and prepare yourselves for an adventure into the paranormal world with host Shelly Robertson and 187 PI research team. Ghost Talk is broadcasting live from Ohio's most haunted jail. Learn about their ongoing research at the jail and abroad, investigation techniques, and their personal encounters. Here is your host of Ghost Talk and 187 PI founder, Shelly Robertson.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. Ghost Talk Radio broadcasts live out of Ohio's most haunted jail, the Old Paulding County Jail, located in, of course, Paulding, Ohio. Tonight, I have a very fascinating show planned for you. I will be discussing our brains on the quantum level in relationship to the paranormal, kinetic energy, and how it may possibly relate to the paranormal, along with some theories of my own. Now, of course, I would like to invite all my listening friends out there tonight to join us in our interactive chat room at WBHM-DB.com, where you can join in on the conversation and ask me any questions you may have, and hopefully I'll know the answers, or I'll have an answer of some sort. Okay, so as I get this show started tonight, I have to tell everyone, and you know, if you've been tuning in and been listening from episode to episode, I talk a lot about haunted places and haunted locations and serial killers, which is a favorite subject of mine, and some of the paranormal activity and experiences that coincide with those aforementioned. I just want to let everyone know that there's much more to me than those things. My papers and writings are much like the diaries of a madman, or in my case, a mad woman. My brain goes in all kinds of directions simultaneously at any given moment, and tonight that will be reflected in the show. I'm constantly working on 100 different things at any one time, which just means, folks, I am never bored. So I just want to start off the show by saying that the paranormal community, of course, has grown by leaps and bounds in the last decade. With that being said, more people have an open mind for the unexplained phenomena. I think that television shows have helped to expand the awareness of paranormal activity, research, and studies. However, it's not exactly quite as you see on TV. While I'm not saying that anything is faked, folks, there are some very reputable and great TV shows out there doing their investigations. What I am saying, that there is many, many hours of research and hard work put into those shows that we don't even get to see on television. The television shows must condense everything down to either 30 minutes or to 1 hour, and they may have been at a location for a week or longer to get some of the footage that we are shown on those shows. So, the general population gets to see all the fun and all the excitement in such a short amount of time, while we researchers know that you can't control the paranormal activity. And we know that you may have to put in many, many, many long, grueling hours in during an investigation to get that one Class A EVP, and even if you get a Class A. And with all that being said, it's fantastic that more and more people are opening up to the thoughts of ghosts and paranormal activity really existing, right? But on the same token, I got to bring this number past your friends. This is going to blow your minds. There are over 10,000, count them, 10,000 paranormal teams in the United States alone. And I think that many of these have popped up along, the past years due to some of the television shows. And that's great too. That's great too. But what I'm going to say next, I'm not going to beat anyone up here, so please don't take offense, all right? But there is a difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator or a researcher, right? Many teams out there are just that, ghost hunters, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's thrilling and it can be very exciting, so why not? But many of these teams, they go from place to place in search of getting any type of evidence on any gadget that they've purchased, and they're calling it research, without doing any history on the location, without documenting and making notes of all the variables taking place while capturing this evidence, without developing techniques that they can test at other locations. And that is why it's taking us longer to get to the answers that we're searching for. The reason is that we have many, many, many more ghost hunters than we have researchers. There's a lot of hobbyists, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? Nothing wrong with hobbyists. I just have a small problem with the ghost hunter classifying themselves as a researcher. Same is true if you plant a tree in your yard and then you call yourself a horticulturist. Well, indeed, you're not a horticulturist. You just planted a tree. Why, the tree may be enjoyable and it may have been fun for you. That makes you horticulturist, right? Now, of course, those statements, they may make your average ghost hunter who classifies themselves as a researcher angry and upset and all in a tizzy, and it's not meant to do that. Every field contains hobbyists of some sort, and that's fantastic. Hopefully, why I'm bringing this out, hopefully, some of the hobbyists will become researchers and help add some helpful information to the paranormal field. Share, work on the same goal. So, as a researcher, I, along with my team, we develop hypotheses and we work on those until we find that we can develop a theory. We'll work on this idea over and over and over again, looking for similarities, recording occurrences, making notes on all the atmospheric variables, making notations on what equipment is being used, and when certain conditions are present and certain activity occurs, we can take those instances and try to duplicate our findings over and over again. I've personally been to many haunted locations and conducted investigations, and what I find most interesting is that not every technique will work or can be applied to every location. For an example, here at the jail, during stormy conditions, I have found that paranormal activity in way of spirit communication is very quiet, meaning that it's very hard for the spirits to vocalize in way of EVP or disembodied voice. On the second token, I have found that the spirits have been able to thermogenically manifest. Maybe, this means that we have been very successful during these stormy conditions at photographing the entities on a thermal camera. And what I think we're coming to find is that we know what the jail is constructed of: limestone, steel, and iron, which is thought to hold energy as well. And knowing the shape of the building, so unlike other locations, like some of the big prisons, they're not so square. So does this trap in some of that extra static electricity during a storm? And does this make it far too great when adding the building variables to allow the vocals to come through? But it is great enough for the thermal manifestations. This is something that is ongoing research work for us at the jail. It's a slow process, folks, because we can only test all of these theories and circumstances and try to replicate these things and look farther into it during storms. So our window of opportunity is narrowed down. We have been very successful in our attempts to replicate our findings during the storm occurrences, and we have quite a lot of photos that we've gathered during the storms. Many of today's scientists, they don't believe that ghosts exist, and we know this. However, there are a few of the scientists who are working on some extraordinary discoveries, right? And next I'm going to talk about some quantum physics and some quantum sciences involving our brains. While there's a whole lot going on in this field, and we could talk about it, for the entire show, just this topic alone, maybe 2 or 3 shows. I'm going to just break it down and make it simple for everyone. We are going to talk about how your brain, specifically your brain waves, and possibly another theory on what ghosts are. And this is very interesting. A very controversial theory is that some quantum physicists have put forward a theory that human consciousness stems from microtubules in our brain cells. Microtubules which can also survive outside our bodies, even once the rest of our body has deceased and has decayed and is no longer. Essentially, that our conscious can haunt the earth long after we've passed on, right? Now tell me, that isn't interesting. Has the human soul then been found by science? A controversial quantum theory of consciousness called ORC-R, which stands for Orchestrated Objective Reduction. It had a review, and scientists supporting this idea are claiming the recent discovery of quantum vibrations in microtubules inside brain neurons corroborate this belief. The theory called Orchestrated Objective Reduction, ORC-R, it was first developed and put forward in the mid-1990s by an eminent mathematical physicist by the name of Sir Roger Penrose. And he was at the Mathematical Institute and Wandham College, University of Oxford. And along with him, a prominent anesthesiologist, Stuart Hammerhoff, MD, Anesthesiology, Psychology, and the Center for Conscious Studies at the Arizona University in Tucson. Gosh, where's my thought process? These two suggested that quantum vibrational computations in the microtubules were orchestrated by sympathetic inputs and memory stored in microtubules and terminated by Penrose objective reduction, hence the name of this whole thing, OR. Microtubules are major components of the cell structural skeleton. And let me tell you, these are just so small, and it's crazy that you can even believe that something so minuscule can live outside of your body. Now, scientists in Japan and also now at MIT corroborates that the pair's theory, and they suggest that EEG rhythms also derive from deeper level microtubule vibrations in the brain, right? In addition to this, work from a laboratory at the University of Pennsylvania is that they suggest that anesthesia, all right, which selectively erases consciousness while sparing non-conscious brain activities, acts via the microtubules in brain neurons as well. So, there's a lot going on in these tiny little microtubules. Now, considering this, the origin of consciousness reflects our place in the universe, right? The nature of our existence. So, did consciousness evolve from complex computations among brain neurons, as most scientists believe or assert? Or has consciousness in some sense been here all along, as spiritual approaches maintain, right? So, did it develop or was it always here? And the thing about that, Hammerhoff and Penrose, they answer this question. They state that this thought actually opens a potential Pandora's box, but their theory accommodates both the views, suggesting consciousness derives from quantum vibrations in the microtubules, protein polymers inside the brain neurons, which both govern the neural and the sympathetic function. Okay? And they connect brain processes, okay, to self-organizing processes in the final scale, which is proto-conscious quantum structure of reality. Okay, I know that's a whole mouthful, but after 20 years of skeptical criticism, all right, the evidence now clearly supports the OR study. An important new fact of the theory is introduced also recently. Microtubule quantum vibrations in megahertz, okay? They appear to interfere and produce much slower EEG beat frequencies. Now, despite a century of clinical use, the underlying origin of EEG rhythm have remained a mystery. Clinical trials of brief brain stimulation aimed at microtubule responses with megahertz mechanical vibrations using transcranial ultrasound have shown reported improvements in mood. So maybe I have to put on a brain cap when I'm feeling angry and get some vibrations going on there, and it will make me feel much better. But I'm saying, so if all of this is true, maybe that's why I feel that spirit communications, they work best under certain frequencies. Now, obviously, more work needs to be done to get all at precise levels accurately at all precise times so we can replicate this over and over. And maybe just maybe be able to have ongoing conversations all the time. And more than that, if our consciousness is certain vibrations within a microtubule in our brain cells, which of course means energy, vibrations equal energy, and energy doesn't go away, it just moves to something else. Could the energy from the microtubules in our brain cells, which is thought to be our consciousness, just transfer to other things like dust particles or atoms, just like in the air? There's a lot more questions to answer here. And with that, we'll be back after this short break. You are listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, Ltd., and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. And before the break, I was talking about quantum physics and your brain waves. If you missed the first part of the show, no worries. You can catch the full show archive on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, and iHeartRadio at your leisure. And I know we're on a few others too. So if you're members of those, just search for us. You'll probably find us. And I would like you to all invite me. No, don't invite me. Well, I guess invite me. I would like to invite you to our interactive chat room at WBHM-DB.com, where you can join in on my conversation and ask me any crazy questions you might have, and hopefully I'll have an answer. So, some interesting things. There's another theory that some people have come up with that makes some sense to me, quite honestly. And it has to do with kinetic energy. So, First of all, what is kinetic energy, you might ask? Well, kinetic energy is the energy that an object has because of its motion. This energy can be converted into other kinds, such as gravitational or electric potential energy, which is the energy that an object has because of its position in a gravitational or electrical field. Now, many things can generate or possess kinetic energy. Some examples are a baseball, a roller coaster, a car, right? So I do a lot of research at my jail, and we do get a lot of activity on a couple of staircases in the building, namely the third floor staircase, and I've often wondered why we get so much activity on the staircase, right? Well, I'm a nerd, and I'm a knowledge junkie, and I read and search for answers to things just like this, along with my own research, physical research at the jail. So we all know the law of thermodynamics, and it states that energy can neither be created or destroyed. It only transforms. Okay, right? That's the basic law of physics, but one that people most often dismiss, right? You don't think about it. So through constantly combing through physics papers and reports that people have written and other bases of knowledge on this very topic, I've come to find out that there are some theories out there regarding kinetic energy in staircases, right? I'm not alone in wondering why this seems to happen. Like lots of haunted places, you find people catch apparitions on staircases, or they're constantly hearing somebody walk up and down them, all kinds of different paranormal activity and phenomena happening on staircases, right? Well, through my reading and understanding how kinetic energy works, the notion of going upward and downward a flight of stairs actually creates energy. Walking up and down them creates energy. Now, you combine this with chemical energy, work, your body, right? And gravitational energy, that's working when you're coming up and going down, right? The gravitational pull of energy. Does that actually produce enough energy to cause the manifestations or the paranormal activity on the staircase? It's a very good theory to ponder, right? While this type of energy, it could dissipate over time, or rather move to something else, it is plausible with enough traffic on the staircase to keep just enough energy within the staircase to allow for these paranormal activities to occur, right? Now, we take into consideration, let's do that, what the staircases are made of, all right, and what the shapes of the staircases are. Spiral, if they're metal, if they're made of wood, because energy can be stored a little longer depending upon the material of the staircase and the shape of the staircase. And while this hasn't exactly been proven, we are studying the possibility at the jail, and this activity does seem to be pretty abundant on the third floor staircase, which obviously is noticed after we've traveled up and down the staircase. Like after we've went up, then we see the shadow ghosts. We capture thermogenic photographs once we've been up and down them. So is this coincidental? Or is it actually causing enough energy for this to happen? So obviously that's something else that we are hard at work trying to figure out some more of this at the jail, right? Many people think that in the paranormal field, many people think that ghosts are the spirits of deceased human beings, right? And they think that they are still here due to maybe unfinished business, a tragic death, a sudden death, or maybe even just maybe they don't realize they're even dead, right? Well, I have my own thoughts on why folks are still here after they've died. I think that us being filled with energy while living, it transforms to something else when we die, or it hangs around somewhere, right? I think that possibly, you know, this has become apparent for me. The energy does retain a memory. It is intelligent. And maybe, just maybe, the energy hangs around where they most love to be. Maybe the energy just isn't floating in outer space or out in the universe because they refuse to let go of where they're used to being. While, yes, I do agree that some folks may have met a tragic demise, and maybe they have had unfinished business when they passed on that they didn't get to take care of while they were living. That might be true. But after developing such a relationships with the spirits here at the jail, communication, they're not perfect. And there's gaps, there's holes, there's pieces missing. And I'm working to fill in those gaps, and I'm working to fill